Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 112. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Fortnite, Redfall, The Flash, Star Wars Visions 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and more. So first, let's talk about our recent activities. I will go first. I'll try to make it brief because I got some things here. I got a movie and a couple games. So I wanted to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 again. But my girlfriend didn't want to do that. So I was like, okay, so what do you want to see? And we saw this. We saw Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. It's a book that she read when she was in middle school. And it's pretty much about this girl who comes from a mom who's a Christian and then her dad who's a Jew. And they sort of didn't force any religion on her. And she sort of goes through like a coming of age story of figuring that out, figuring out her parents' history and sort of religion itself, all while being in middle school. And she's moving and a bunch of other stuff's happening. So it's been a while since I've watched a coming of age story in theaters. And this one is really, really good. The wife or the mom character is played by Rachel McAdams, I believe. And she is, to those nerds out there, I guess, the main love interest of Doctor Strange. And obviously she's in a bunch of other films and movies. And the daughter also played Cassie within Ant-Man 1 before they like recast her and did a bunch of other shit. But yeah, you know, the movie itself is very, very good. It's been a while since I've seen a coming of age story in theaters, and it's been a while since I've seen one in general. So seeing this one was a lot of fun. And a lot of the things that the girls were doing in middle school, my girlfriend was like, yeah, I did that. I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. Yeah, because, you know, obviously, like, I'm a guy, so I'm like, did we really do that? I guess we did, like, other stuff as we were, you know, coming to that age and shit like that. But, you know, it was definitely a very, very good movie, and I think that a lot of people should go check it out if you're into, you know, coming of age stories and things like that. Next one I got here is Fortnite. Obviously, May 4th happened, so they released a bunch of Star Wars skins, and I spent my wallet, spent my money on it, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, the update itself is kind of crazy just because like the Attack on Titan stuff is still in there, and then you also have all of this like Star Wars stuff in there. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So we've gotten second place twice in a row, and that shit was really aggravating, but it is what it is. You know, it's just Fortnite. But at the same time, I'm like, man, these fucking like lightsabers and all this other bullshit going on, I'm like, this shit is so stupid. But you know, it's still fun. And then the last thing I've been doing has been taking up a lot of my time more than I want to say, is Overwatch 2. I've not said this publicly on the podcast, but my friends know and people around me know that I fucking hate this game. I hate playing Overwatch 2, but I play it because my girlfriend and one of my closest friends, James, they like playing it. And I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll play it because obviously I come from a League of Legends background. I play Valorant, so I'm like, all right, fuck it, you know, like let's play this dumb shooter 5v5 thing with a bunch of abilities and whatnot. But because of the way the rank system works, it becomes really, really aggravating. I'm not sure if it's bugged or what, but I've been like hard stuck bronze 5 for like a while now. And I know I'm not that elo, but I think it's because I didn't play ranked in Overwatch 1. So it's still trying to figure out, after all of these fucking hours that I put into the game, it's still trying to figure out like where I am. So really like grinding Overwatch is a grind, which is unfortunate because I feel like in other games like the ranking system, like it figures out your rating very quickly. Like within Valorant, like when I'm like smurfing on like my other account, quote unquote smurfing, it recognizes that I'm like gold/silver like very, very quickly. Meanwhile, this game, it's like apparently you have to get like 24 wins in a row to like really increase your rating, which I'm like, that's fucking crazy in a row, like especially in a online based game where it's like 5v5 and like one person can ruin it. You can ruin it yourself just because you have a bad game, etc., etc. But last night I promoted from bronze 5 to, guess what, bronze 4 DPS, and I was hype. I was kind of popping off for like no fucking reason, but at the same time I was like, this shit is sad as hell. But you know, I'm kind of having fun with it, but at the same time, last night I definitely quit a game, so at the same time I'm still fucking hating it. But yeah, you know, it's just a toxic relationship that I'm in with this stupid ass game.
I could tell. I mean, I guess I could talk about the live service stuff. I mean, I was kind of busy last week, but Overwatch, I played like the new mode. It's really bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, it is terrible.
Yeah, I only did it just to get the XP and shit, but basically you have like two different teams. One is attacking, one's defending. The defending team is just like has it way easier because their like hero selection is just better, and defending is usually easier to begin with, and you have like turrets everywhere and shit. and the attackers get like a bunch of shitty tanks, and like you can revive each other, like you can res each other, but that doesn't fucking matter because you like get folded like paper every single time. So
yes.
Yeah, it's a really bad game mode. I don't know why they made it, but yeah, it exists. And Fortnite, it's really fun. I've been playing a lot of Fortnite as well because I really like the Star Wars stuff. I think the lightsabers are super fun. I've won a few games with the lightsabers. It's just the green one, Obi-Wan's one. You can just push people out of the final circle and win. It's really dumb.
That's how we lost one time. I was like, okay, let's go push him. And then they pushed us off. And because it was so late, we just died. And I was like, this shit is so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, probably Anakin's is probably the worst one. The pull, I don't find useful at all. And Darth Maul's is pretty good because you throw rocks at people and just kill them. But yeah, it's fun to just go in with ODM gear, take out your lightsaber and like do shit. It's so dumb and I love it. So yeah, Fortnite's still pretty sick. In terms of, I guess, in terms of Star Wars stuff. So, we're going to talk about it later, but, Jedi Survivor is kind of borks right now on everything. I hear the game is, like, really good. It just doesn't perform well at all on, like, basically anything. Like, consoles is doing a bit better, but PC is, like, a horrible story right now. So, I was in a Star Wars mood, so, like, the last, like, 2 days, I'm like, let me, I could replay Fallen Order. Why not? It's been a bit. It's been like 3 years since I played it. And yeah, the game is still really good. I'm playing it on the PS5 version because, I might as well play on something different since I played on PC the first time. And yeah, the game is still great. It's very like sort of Uncharted meets Star Wars is the best way to explain it. There's a lot of very Uncharted type gameplay going on. I think the lightsabers are really fun to use. Got some Metroidvania elements to it, like come back to planets when you get new force abilities or whatever upgrades you get. I think the game is still like a ton of fun. It still looks great too, like on PS5. I'm like, yeah, this performs pretty well and stuff. So hopefully they can fix Jedi Survivor because I am really excited to actually play that game. But I don't want to like taint my experience by just playing it in a broken state. So I'm gonna wait until they actually fix it. They've been rolling out patches pretty frequently, so hopefully it gets up to that point where I can actually play it. Probably after Zelda at this point, but yeah, I'll just keep enjoying this replay of the game because yeah, I think the game is still really good. Like if you haven't played Fallen Order yet, I think it's definitely worth a try. It's really cheap whenever it goes on sale. It's like $20 or probably less at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, give it a try. It's really good. And next was the big thing for me was the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC. Future redeemed, and yeah, in terms of story, obviously I'm not gonna talk about the story that much because like a lot of spoilers, but yeah, it was really good. I mean, I kind of wanted a bit more like I guess fan servicey type stuff. Like I wanted to see some characters or see some other characters interact with other people, but for what it was, I thought it was really good. It still gave me like a lot of really cool references and like interactions I wanted to see and stuff. So like I still enjoyed that aspect of the story. And like the ending is crazy. Like it goes through a lot of things. Basically, I don't think they're actually done with this like series that I thought they were. It's really weird. There's a lot of things that happen in the end, but yeah, the story left me very satisfied. In terms of gameplay, I really enjoyed it as well. The gameplay is still pretty similar to Xenoblade 3. Xenoblade 2 had its DLC as well, Torna, and it changed the combat system like a lot. Like that combat system was nowhere like near like Xenoblade 2's like combat system. Like they were pretty different. This one's pretty similar, but the way they changed it up is by having the exploration be a more major part of the game. So, usually in RPGs, you like fight things to get stronger and you get like skill points or whatever, and you like put that in your character. In this game, you can still level up and you get your stats up or whatever. But now the way you actually get like new abilities and stuff is by exploring and doing stuff. You get like AP, like, ability points by exploring and finding stuff or killing different monsters. And that makes you stronger. And I think that's actually a pretty cool premise for a game like Xenoblade where it's so focused on exploration and stuff. And I really liked it. Exploration was always really rewarding in Xenoblade, but I think with this sort of new system, it makes it even feel more rewarding. I really went out of my way to like basically do everything. I mean, I do that anyway, but since your power level is so tied to it, I really enjoyed finding every little thing I can since it just makes you stronger and stronger. I don't know how that would do for like a full Xenoblade game since it's long as shit and some people just want to see the main story, which I get, and like sort of being like tied down to side content to be stronger is kind of annoying for some people, but I think it was super fun and addicting. So hopefully they do something like this in the next game because I think that'd be super cool. But yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. I love all the Easter eggs and references, and I think the story like developments at the end were really big. I think it acts as a great prequel to Xenoblade 3 as well. The combat is basically the same as 3, but that's okay because I think 3's gameplay was probably the best of all 3 of the games. And I just really like what they did with the exploration. It was a really great DLC, great like epilogue to the whole series. And I'm looking forward to whatever the hell the next Xenoblade game is. I am very excited. I will buy it day one. Of course, it's my favorite series. And yeah, now I just gotta wait for Tears of the Kingdom because it's still not delivering yet. It's so painful, but yeah, hopefully I could talk about it next podcast. So yeah,
we hope everyone is either playing it and avoiding spoilers and doing whatever with the new Zelda game. I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up when I got cash, but
I'm literally not clicking anything Zelda related because I don't want my whole inbox to be full of like, this is like when Link fucking dies or something. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
YouTube spoilers.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, we're going to get into the general news. First, we'll talk about the gaming stuff. So the UK has officially blocked the Microsoft Activision deal to preserve innovation in cloud gaming. So I went on the r/games subreddit and everyone was just clowning the fucking cloud gaming part because that shit is just hilarious because we all know as gamers ourselves that the cloud gaming scene and the sort of part of that industry is sort of never really awoken, never really taken off in any real major regard, but I do think that the sentiment to preserve competition and everything like that is there. I think that is like a valid argument because when you have Microsoft, one of the biggest tech giants on the planet, taking up Activision, who has a lot of really huge IPs like Call of Duty and stuff like that, you are sort of taking that part of the industry and sort of they can gatekeep it away from other people, but at the same time, they can also, play nice and be fair, which is something that they've been doing, fairly. But at the same time, it's like, can you really trust them with that kind of power at the same time? So we don't know exactly where this deal is going to head now, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft is just kind of taking L's like this week, and this doesn't really help at all either. Yeah, the cloud gaming thing is a little weird. I guess it's like, they like expect it to be a bigger deal in the future, and like Microsoft already has a pretty good foothold in that sort of space. So maybe if cloud gaming really got big in the future, they would have that whole market sort of like cornered, and then with Activision being acquired, then I guess they'll fear it'd be like too much of a monopoly at that point. But I do feel that's kind of like that's a lot of like forward thinking. So I'm not too sure if cloud gaming will really pop off that soon. I think we're still ways off from that even like being a thing that would be concerning in terms of like actual market competition. Because, a lot of gamers don't really care about this stuff. Like, it's like, yeah, it just doesn't work. You have to have a wired connection. And a lot of people don't have that or don't even know what a wired connection is, So, I don't think they should really be concerned about that. But again, I guess it does make sense how, if they do get Activision, Microsoft is very bigger than Nintendo or Sony in terms of like just overall company size because, Windows. So it makes sense that they don't want them to have like sort of a big like market in the gaming space because, I guess it would be kind of unbeatable at that point. And it's kind of hard to imagine just because, Sony and Nintendo are like a lot more prevalent than Microsoft is at this point. But maybe they just fear that if they do give them this one edge, it'll just be too much and then it'll just snowball out of control. Again, I'm no businessman. Like, I don't really know how big the ramifications is, but like that's kind of their job. But all I know is that Microsoft needs something. And clearly this wasn't the play since they are getting blocked by literally everyone. So, it just has not been their day, as we'll talk about soon with Redfall. So, I think the thing that Microsoft really has to do is just make new IPs and stuff. Like, I know they keep buying studios and stuff, but they don't really own that IP. Like, Sony and Nintendo have been building the IP since like, the N64 PS1 days, and Microsoft has, they had Halo and had Gears, and like that's about it. So it really, I don't know. They really have to just do something because they are definitely losing this gen, just like they did last generation, where I really don't hear anyone talking about Xbox like at all. So, yeah.
I mean, while we're on the topic of Microsoft, we might as well bring up the point that, Phil Spencer went on the Kind of Funny Games cast and sort of opened up about the Redfall launch and how he is upset with himself. As he said, I'm upset with myself, that end quote. It just seems like that they are trying their best to actually make a new forge into the industry in a way, because like, you know, for the longest time it was Halo and Gears of War. And when those IPs and franchises really ran their course and shooters sort of took the backseat, now it's like, all right, what do we have to fall back on? All of these IPs that we kind of ditched, like Fable and shit like that. It's like, well, we could try to revive them, but at this point, people don't really care about that stuff anymore. So I think that, and you know, no offense to those people that like Fable and all of those other IPs, you know, I'm sure you would have a field day as much as I would if I saw Sly Cooper come back for the PlayStation. But anyways, yeah, you know, like you said, Damian, I think that it is a thing for Microsoft to really buckle down and create new IPs that can really solidify themselves with Microsoft and really align themselves with Xbox and everything like that. Because, you know, when you look at PlayStation and Nintendo especially, you know, Nintendo has been running Mario and Zelda into the ground for years and years and years, and it works. You know, obviously, like the success of the Mario movie and now with Tears of the Kingdom now out, it's like, okay, yeah, these IPs are still doing well because obviously they take the time and effort to create those games and create those projects, et cetera, with PlayStation. You know, they have like a lot of really good studios that really know what they're doing, but at the same time, PlayStation is sort of falling into their own rabbit hole of like, all right, everything has to be open world, everything has to be story driven, et cetera, and that can get really boring and tiresome for a lot of people. And it's getting boring and tiresome for me personally because, you know, I haven't played Forbidden West, and I know it's really good, but I'm kind of like daunted to really play that because I'm just like, I know it's going to be a really long game. It's going to be open world. It's going to be a story that I do care about, but not necessarily, you know, so it's like, you know, what variety does PlayStation have? It's not a whole lot in all things considered. And then when you look at Xbox, it's like the running joke in the entire industry for years has been like Xbox has no games, which is true. Like it'll like they don't have a lot of games to really draw people into the Xbox console. And I know it's because, you know, Phil Spencer and the Xbox team want to play nice and be like, yeah, you know, it's available on Windows too at the same time. And it's like, all right, yeah, that's cool. But it's like, what's going to have people going out to the store to buy Xboxes other than that their friends have it? And even then, crossplay is now becoming such a more integrated thing into like every single game. It's like, do I really even need a Xbox anymore? Which is why like when me and Emma play Fortnite, it's like, why is this kid playing on Xbox? Is this all he has? Like the fucking Xbox has no fucking games. That's why he's playing Fortnite and he's fucking level like 200 or whatever, you know? Right. So I think that with Redfall, especially with Redfall, because this was like their next biggest game and the sort of news of the whole 30 FPS at launch and 60 FPS later, it just sort of tainted the whole game before it even came out. Like it literally shut the game down before it came out. And then when it did come out, all of the reviewers and the critics came out and it was like, yeah, it's like not that great. And like that sucks too. You know, at least if they had like that 60 FPS thing, I think that wouldn't have had such a negative press around it before it came out, and then the reviews came out, and then instantly the game's done.
Yeah. Like it really just shows that the most important thing for like a console is like games. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have that, it doesn't really matter. Like you could be the most strongest system in the world, but if you have like no video games, it doesn't really matter. I mean, look at the Switch. I mean, I wish it was stronger. Like, you know, I wish that thing wasn't like a toaster, but you know, like I still think the Switch is probably one of the strongest consoles like in a while. Like I think it's my favorite Nintendo console at this point. Like it has so many good games, and you know the fact that it runs like shit, but like people still like buy these games and they're like really good. Mm-hmm. You know, speaks to say like, yeah, like games are the thing that really matters for these like consoles. And you know, Sony is the same way. It's like, yeah, like. Yeah, obviously the PS5 is like a really cool console and it runs things really well. But I also bought it because like of the exclusives and stuff, because you know games are what sell that system. Like the reason I don't have an Xbox is like there's no reason to have one. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I have a PC already and I could just like play a lot of the Microsoft exclusives there. So there's like no real reason for me to get an Xbox, and I feel like a lot of people feel the same way about it. So yeah, and you know, with Redfall coming out in just such a bad state, like I've seen the reviews for it, like that game is just a mess. Like I don't know what happened, but yeah, Arcane just feel like that just wasn't the game they wanted to make. So, and I feel like in trying to sort of like broaden the appeal of that game, they kind of just appealed to no one, and it kind of just ended up being a broken mess, which is very unfortunate. So Yeah, honestly, I just think Microsoft is just gonna have to step it up with Starfield is the only other game that's coming out this year for them. So, and knowing Bethesda, that game's gonna run like ass when it comes out. So, yeah, I'm not really having. I'm sure the game's gonna be good, but like, yeah, in terms of like technical performance, like it's Bethesda, so expect it to not run like super well and be really buggy. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is honestly really crazy, and I wouldn't be surprised if like, they're never gonna release these numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if like Xbox has not been profitable in like the past like decade or whatever, because like they aren't really, they're obviously being very friendly, and they're being very open to the gaming community, being like, hey, like all of our games are gonna be on Game Pass, and Game Pass is successful, and all of the games on Game Pass, they're also on PC, etc., etc. They're being very open to the gaming community, but at the same time, it's like you're hurting yourself in the long run, especially within a capitalist society where it's like, all right, shit, you kind of need to like create these advantages for yourself. And like, PlayStation has been doing it for fucking years. The fact that they got like the Final Fantasy stuff, like exclusives or whatever, with the whole 7 remake and shit like that. And then on top of that with, Square Enix with the whole Spider-Man DLC for Avengers to try to save that game. And, that was kind of crazy. The fact that they got another Spider-Man thing exclusive to PlayStation. So I think that Xbox just has to be a little more aggressive if they want to, stay within contention and sort of stay relevant within the trio space of like, being Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, sort of be within that conversation, because they're not necessarily going to end Xboxes, but I feel like that they may be on the way out, because once again, this is Microsoft we're fucking talking about. They are one of, if not the biggest tech giants on Earth, and it's kind of crazy that they are struggling with this whole Xbox thing now, especially when they've been in the business for well over a decade.
Yeah, I guess it really hurts them now. Like they don't have like, I guess like a lot of Japanese support. So it didn't really matter in the 360 days because a lot of like Japanese studios weren't really doing so hot. But now like they've been popping off, and like them not really getting jack and shit on Xbox because a lot of Japanese players don't have Xboxes. Like that support's kind of hurting them a lot as well. So yeah, I just don't really hear a lot of people saying I'm gonna get an Xbox now. It's not like when we were kids. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get a 360 or whatever. Like no one cares anymore. Like people just say I want the PS5. Like that's sort of like the hot like next gen console to get. Like I barely hear anyone talk about like the Xbox Series X. So yeah, like Microsoft just really has to reevaluate their like games and see like just make them good. They probably need more oversight as well. Like I know Microsoft's way of dealing with like games is just to be very like give them a bunch of money, but don't really like touch their like don't give them any insight. But at this point, I really feel like they should be a little more controlling and being like, okay, can we not make this like game shit? So that'd be cool. But yeah,
it's a great way to approach it.
All right, in terms of another broken game that came out, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the PC version, has been really bad. This thing could barely run on the strongest console, or strongest PCs rather.
Yeah.
So like, there's people that were running it on a 4090, and it was only getting like 30 frames. This thing seems to be like hard lock at like 55 frames, and it's like impossible to go over that point. And consoles aren't any better either, especially like on PS5. The regular mode is okay, like the non-performance mode is fine, I guess, but also like I'm not gonna play on 30 FPS because come on. And performance mode is just really bad. Apparently, I watched the Digital Foundry video on this game. Apparently it's because ray tracing is always on, even on performance mode, which makes like no sense. So like performance mode tries to go for 60, but since the extra ray tracing like is like just making it run like shit, it just results in a really bad frame rate where it's like fluctuating between like 60 and 30, and it's like just really bad. On top of the game also just having a bunch of bugs and stuff. Apparently the game just wasn't ready to come out. Like EA was like, oh, this game came out in a record time. I'm like, that's not something you want to say when the game is like broken.
Yeah.
So yeah, so overall it's just been really bad, especially on PC. They've already made a statement saying that, hey, sorry about that, we're gonna fix the game in the coming weeks. But it's a little too late for that. I mean, the game of Ravi is the best selling, I think, Star Wars game in a while, and like I think it's sold 30% more than Fallen Order, so good job on that. But yeah, in terms of the game actually working, it's not, and it's unfortunate because I keep hearing the game is really good. It's just that all these performance issues are really gonna I guess, leave a stain in its legacy. I mean, Fallen Order, I guess, was like that when it first came out, but I didn't play it when it first came out. So my brother did, and he told me it was basically not as bad as this, but it was pretty bad as well. So I guess Respawn really has to like just polish this shit before it comes out, please.
Yeah, I think that this is becoming a trend within game studios in the industry, especially with PC ports. You know, we saw it with the Last of Us remaster getting ported on PC. You know, that shit was a mess on PC. And now you have this, and people sort of have like that like Twitter photo with like 4 games, and I forget what the other 2 are, but you know, it's just been a string of just like recent PC versions just coming out, and they're just fucking dog shit. And it's crazy because it's like, you know, that's the version that I think a lot of people are excited about because they're able to really customize the way they want to play the most if the game allows it to. And if it doesn't, you're going to get shit like this. And it sucks, especially with a game like Jedi Survivor. You know, there was a lot of hype behind this, even though I feel like the advertising wasn't exactly as strong as maybe the previous game. Maybe I'm just, you know, copium here or just not paying attention at all, but you know, I know that Jedi Survivor was coming out, and then it came out, and then all of this bad press happened. And I think that when it comes to games coming out in this broken state, it fucking sucks, obviously. But I think that at the same time, you know, to those people that still want to play it and they still buy it in a broken state, at least they know it. But I think that for me personally, you know, like I know that I'm eventually going to play this game. That's why I don't really pre-order games anymore. You know, I feel like that pre-ordering a game, especially within 2023, is really like, unless you're like downloading it and like preloading it, that's a different story. But I feel like if you're still like buying physical copies, like myself and the 5 other people on this planet, you know, pre-ordering games isn't really necessarily necessary, I would say. I don't know if that made sense, but you know, I think that giving a game studio money before the game even comes out is still a idea that I think we should just let go of. You know, pre-ordering games in general. I don't think that is something that is good for the industry, especially because, you know, some studios may get lazy or they may get complacent. Like, oh, look, we already raked in all this money, et cetera, whatever. But, you know, I think that these studios should just like fucking slow it down and just like take their time or whatever and just like release the game finished. Because the last time I played a game where I didn't have to do a day 1 update, it was the Yoshi game on the Switch. I forget what it was called. It wasn't Woolly World. It was the one after that.
Crafted World?
Yes, Crafted World. So I literally bought that game. I put it into my Switch and it launched instantly. No update or anything. I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like it like you cannot buy a game today, a AAA game, buy it today and it do that. And it's crazy because I think that, you know, day 1 patches like fix like a bug or 2. Okay, that's fine. But I think that a lot of these new games come out and you have to get like a gigabyte patch or some shit on top of like the already like however big download that you have to download it for. Because I know that my girlfriend, she got Jedi Survivor on the PlayStation 5 because she got fucking Hogwarts Legacy on PC and that shit was not running well. I'm not sure if it was because of her setup or what, but you know, she was like, you know what, now when I buy a AAA game, I'm gonna buy it on console. And even then, it was like such a big ass download, it was like crazy. So
yeah, it's like 150 gigabytes or something, I think.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, it just seems like consoles are just running things better. I don't really know what's going on, to be honest. Like, I don't know why that's just a thing. I mean, I basically shifted all my like AAA stuff to like console at this point because PS5 just runs things better at this point for some reason. But yeah, I guess in terms of like, you know, pre-ordering and stuff, like I feel like it's always like you kind of gotta use your own intuition and like what you think is like who's gonna deliver. Like I feel like most of the time I never get burned because it's like, okay, usually I always pre-order first party Nintendo stuff because like that's never given me an issue like ever. So like I've always just done it. Also, I don't trust. I mean, I like to get them physical. Like those are like the only ones I really care about getting physical. And you know, I'm kind of glad I do because Nintendo has awful scarcity. Like Metroid Prime Remastered is like impossible to get now. So yeah, like usually that's never burned me. A lot of first party Sony games I've always just pre-ordered because again I've never gotten burned by them. So it's like whatever. Everything else though, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hold off and see. Usually I wait until the day before. I mean, here, if you want a pretty sick strat, this is what I always do. If you still want pre-order bonuses, just literally wait until the day before where all the reviews and stuff come out and see performance like reviews and stuff because usually they're out by then too, and then do it. And then you're basically not really having any risk involved at all, and you can still preload. It's fine. So, but yeah, pre-ordering like literally months before for like a digital thing, it doesn't really make sense to me. I'm like, you can just wait like the day before and get all the benefits. Like it's fine. That's what I've always done. So yeah, it's always just use your own brain. Like, if you've been playing games for this long, you should probably just know how things work at this point. So, but yeah, I'm not to blame the consumer or anything. Like, obviously, it's like on the companies for not delivering like a stable experience. Like, definitely on that. But still, always like try to be like, always do your research. Like, that's what I've always done. You know, I always watch a bunch of reviews, like make sure this is good. And yeah, plus I think it's fun. I just like doing that. But I just like hearing opinions. But yeah, it's just kind of sad that all these PC ports have just been donkey, and hopefully they could fix that, because supposedly, 4090 is supposed to be like hot shit, and like everything's been running like ass. So I don't know what the deal is, but hopefully this gets sorted out soon, because I don't think PC players can handle another bad port at this point.
Yeah, they might actually like tank the next game to like a 0.
Yeah, honestly, like again, it's hard because like the games are good. It's just like they're just like run like shit. So like on Steam right now, it's like mixed on Steam because it's like, yeah, the game is good, it just runs like ass. So yeah, it's a mess.
All right, so moving on from there, we got Spider-Man Remastered is now released on PlayStation 5 standalone. And if you have a PS4 version, whether physically or digitally, you can upgrade it for $10. So this was a thing that pretty much everyone asked for when it was initially announced, when Spider-Man Remastered was going to be bundled with Miles Morales as like the Ultimate Edition or whatever. But I already knew when they were doing that, I was like, okay, like they're doing this so you can, for one, buy like the extra like upgraded version and like get like the extra money from it, and two, they want people to have like a bundled package for those that are getting the PlayStation 5 version, to be like, hey, like this is a complete package with like everything Spider-Man related, and you don't have to worry about hunting down a copy or like buying the older PS4 version for it. You're also going to have the new Spider-Man Peter Parker model in there too. So the fact that they're doing this now, I think is fine. I don't think that anyone necessarily really has a problem with this. It also does come with all of the City That Never Sleeps DLC, which is nice. But yeah, I think that if they did this when it was initially coming out, they wouldn't have sold as many Ultimate Edition copies, and I think that is completely fine from like a business standpoint, because at that point in time, the Spider-Man PS4 game is like, it still is going for like $20 to like $10, because it's just so common these days, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's also smart, I guess, they're doing it now because Spider-Man 2 is supposed to come out like September or something. That's sort of the rumors at the moment. So I guess it makes sense to be selling it and be like, hey, you could play it before the second one comes out. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I have no issue with this. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure most people that wanted this probably have it at this point. Since these because it comes with Miles Morales, right? It was the Ultimate Edition, right?
Yeah, as long as you got the Ultimate Edition, which was an extra $10 from the $60, so $70 from, I guess, like as like the new standard price point or whatever.
Right. So yeah, I'm sure that most people that wanted it already have it, but it's gonna be nice for anyone that's like sort of just like coming into PlayStation is like, I don't know what to get, and you can probably just get this for cheap. So makes sense. Or you could just upgrade your PS4 version if you have that. So, but I no complaints there. I actually still never really played the PS5 version. I just kind of did the thing where I got all the trophies instantly and just like left. So I probably should do that at some point. The second one's so close to coming out at this point that I'll probably just wait. But we'll see how I'm feeling. I mean, there's a lot of games coming out. So gotta use my time wisely there. But yeah, either way, I'm just very excited for Spider-Man 2, and I'm really excited to hear more news about it at any point.
Yeah, I mean, they have I guess like a bunch of people that are like working on it in like the press being like, obviously I can't say nothing, but you know what, it's very exciting, it's gonna be very cool, we're doing a lot of insane things. And I'm like, all right, well, I hope that that Spider-Verse rumor is false. But yeah, I cannot wait to replay this game before it comes out once again for like the 5th time or whatever the fuck.
Jesus Christ.
And then hopping into Spider-Man 2, and maybe I'll replay Miles Morales, because I do think that was a nice 1.5 kind of game.
Hell yeah. So next, I guess, for Sony stuff, Twisted Metal is getting a live action show or movie. I actually don't know what.
I think it's a show because it's streaming on Peacock.
Oh yes, it is a show. It's on Peacock. So the main character is Falcon from Marvel, and he's just he's kind of vibing, doing his thing, and obviously you could see like the ruined city, and I'm guessing that's Sweet Tooth there at the end. So yeah, don't really know how they're gonna make a Twisted Metal show work, since it's just like kind of an arcadey like card destruction game. But sure, I guess. And I'm sure all the fans of Twisted Metal are like, why couldn't we just get a game? I bet they're very sad. I have no real attachment to Twisted Metal. I just know about it. So, but I guess it's cool to be acknowledged, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Mackie starring in it is pretty cool. It's supposed to be like a comedy series, so I hope that they can actually land on that front. But it's going to be, I guess, like, also with some post-apocalyptic violence and shit like that, along with the comedy aspect. So I think that'll be fun. But it's streaming on Peacock, so I don't know exactly how many people are actually going to watch this.
Yeah, the two people that got Peacock are going to be enjoying this.
Yeah, but seeing Sweet Tooth, I think that it was like a big thing for a lot of people because obviously he's like the face of Twisted Metal, so seeing him within this short little teaser trailer was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I hope it does well. It's probably not going to live up to HBO's Last of Us standards, but it'll probably live up to like Detective Pikachu standards in my eyes, or like the Sonic movie or shit like that.
Yeah, I guess it depends on like they have different vibes. Like I think having a fun comedy series for Twisted Metal makes more sense than having this like serious drama thing that Last of Us was. So yeah, they kind of just gotta fit the vibe and stuff. I'm more interested to see like the Horizon and God of War shows that apparently they're making, because I feel like those need a lot more effort to be put in to them.
Yeah,
because their worlds are a lot bigger. Like they just need a lot more stuff to them. And I think The Last of Us was like such a great example of how to do like a Sony show. I guess that's gonna be crazy. Like anything that's following it up is gonna have to impress pretty hard. But if this could just be its own fun little thing, and then I think that's fine. But again, I'm not gonna like watch it because I need Peacock. So I'm not.
Yeah. All right. So next we're getting into The Flash. They released a second trailer. And yeah, it still looks good. I mean, all things considered, from what the press and everyone behind the scenes has been saying, like this is gonna be the greatest superhero movie of all time, yada yada yada. And yeah, I think what's his name? Fucking god damn it, I forget his name. Why is it escaping me right now? This is the worst time to lose it. Michael Keaton. Fuck, I'm so stupid.
Right, yeah.
I think he like dropped a reference to like one of the older movies, which I have not watched because they're older than I am. But yeah, I mean, the trailer itself, like I said, it does look like it's still gonna be like a pretty cool superhero movie that's gonna do a lot of like multiverse stuff that'll hopefully reset the whole DCU or whatever the fuck that they're trying to do. But yeah. What did you think of the trailer, Damian?
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. I mean, like, again, the whole thing of, the actor that played the Flash is always like kind of sussy. But I think in terms of the movie itself, it actually does look really good. Like, I think all the trailers they've released look like it is going to be a good movie. And a lot of DC, movies have not been very good. So, it's going to be nice to see sort of what it could do with this, and maybe how this is going to tie into like rebooting the whole like thing. And, it's pretty interesting, because I didn't know this. Obviously the last trailer showed this, but I didn't know how involved Batman or like I guess Supergirl were going to be in this. But it looks like they're going to be a pretty big part of this movie, which is pretty interesting, because I thought it was just going to be about the Flash, but I guess it's not. So it feels more like it's like another crossover type movie, because a Batman seems to be in it like a lot, and the same thing with Supergirl. So yeah, that's gonna be and Zod, I guess, like Zod is also there. So yeah, it seems to be like a lot of stuff going on, and I wonder how they're gonna balance all that with like just the Flash doing stuff, because he is like the title character. So hopefully he gets a lot of screen time, since it's about him. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that turns out, and I'm just kind of excited to just see like how they would make this into the James Gunn verse, because if there's anyone I could trust now making a Superman movie that I actually give a shit about, it's probably him, because I still don't care about Superman like at all. I think he's really boring. But yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do this, but from all the trailers I've been seeing, it looks pretty good, and maybe I'll watch it. I probably will. Why not? Right now, I'm more excited for Spider-Verse than anything, but I guess we'll see when it actually comes out, and we'll see if it's actually good. Because again, everyone's like, "This movie's blowing my mind." Like, everyone that's watching it, I'm like, "All right, calm down. We'll see. We'll see how good it is when it comes out."
Yeah, I mean, obviously everything with Ezra Miller is unfortunate, and James Gunn even said himself as he was doing press for Guardians 3, he was like, we'll just have to play it out, we'll see what happens. And obviously he's saying that because he doesn't want the box office numbers to tank for the Flash, because he is the head honcho of the DCU now. But yeah, I'm probably gonna go watch this myself. It is definitely gonna be a event in it of itself, just because of how high praise everyone is saying it, not just from like, obviously people behind the scenes, but there have been like early screenings of it and people were like, yeah, this shit's fucking amazing. I was like, okay, all right, guys. But yeah, this is going to be like a huge crossover thing with all of the, Batmans and Supergirls and whatnot, which is unfortunate because I think that this is going to be a lot of people's introduction to the Flash, like as a character. And, if you didn't watch the CW show you watch this movie, this is definitely going to be your introduction to him. And I hope that they are able to do the Flash's character justice, which, speaking of the whole CW show, Grant Gustin, who is the actor that plays him in that, I guess, like universe or whatever, didn't make a cameo because they said there wasn't enough room, which I think is fucking bullshit, because it's like even for like a 5 to 10 second cameo for like just to like show that like, hey, like that could have happened or whatever, or like he could have been the other Barry Allen as well. I think that would have been pretty cool, but maybe they wanted it to just focus on Ezra Miller's Flash, which at the same time I'm like, you could have snuck in one cameo, with him in it, because I think that he really did define like a generation of Flash fans. And I think that even for myself, like I stopped watching after season 4 because I started season 5 and I was like, this shit's getting confusing. I don't know what the fuck's going on. And like every single season is like 20 something episodes, an hour long each. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. I'm sorry. But like at the same time, like the first couple of seasons of that show are really, really good. Like they are a really nice introduction to who the Flash is and how he got his powers and everything like that. So, maybe he's in the actual theatrical release because, from early screenings, he wasn't in there, but maybe they're saving it for later. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, it is what it is.
Get all the cameos. Again, it'd be weird if he just wasn't there, but I guess they don't want him there. So maybe they just want to forget the CW stuff even happened. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this movie sort of like comes out and how it's received. Because, like we said, DC's been in a rut and hopefully James Gunn could save it.
Yep.
Well, speaking of like ruts, here's the Sonyverse coming back. So we got the Kraven movie, since we talked about that before. They are making a Kraven movie. Apparently it's supposed to come out October 6th of this year.
Yes.
I don't know if that's, I mean, maybe it'll happen. I mean, the writer's strike is happening now. So, I mean, they're probably done writing it at this point, but whatever. Apparently it's supposed to be rated R, and apparently the gore is supposed to be very over the top. So over here it says it's supposed to be more of akin to like Deadpool, like how the Deadpool movies were handled. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty interesting angle to take. I don't know if it's going to be like as funny as Deadpool, because I feel like Deadpool's like over the top humor and violence sort of works with that. Like Kraven, I always associate being a little more serious than that. But if they want to go for like, more like, I guess, slapsticky, like gore type deer, then sure. I guess when I first read this, when I saw a rated R Kraven movie, I was expecting more of like a, oh shit, what was it called? The Wolverine, right?
Yes,
like the Wolverine movie.
Logan.
Yeah, Logan. There you go. I was expecting it to be something like that, but I guess if they're gonna go more for a Deadpool angle, then sure, I guess. I don't really have a lot of faith in like a lot of the Sonyverse movies, just because like they're very, they're meant to not be taken as seriously. I mean, the Venom movies are like prime examples of that. Like, those movies have their fans, but I don't think anyone would say they're like masterpieces or anything. Obviously, Morbius exists, so
that's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece. It made $1 billion or whatever. But seeing what they do with Kraven will be, I guess, kind of interesting. I always said that I think Spider-Man has some of the most interesting villains of like most superheroes. Like I think you could do a lot of cool stuff with them. But again, it's Sony doing it, so if Venom comes out as being just mid at best, I can't imagine any of the other non as important villains as in the lineup there. So but it'll be interesting because it's like different being rated R and stuff. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, just by what this trailer describes, the trailer for us to like the general public is supposed to hit later this summer. And them having it be rated R, I think that is like a very good thing. I think that is like the correct move, because I feel like no kids is going to go out and go watch the Kraven movie, kind of thing. So I think that them just like heading straight into, all right, yeah, this is going to be for like adult, like comic book movie watching fans, I think that is completely fine. So them diving into the whole gore thing and them actually being violent with it or whatever, I think that can work. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is a very, very good actor. The only thing I've really seen him in is Kick-Ass, and that was when he was a lot younger. But he was great in those movies. I loved him. So I hope that he is able to deliver within this role, even if the script or whatever their vision that they're trying to tell doesn't fit right. I think that he is able to, be like the standout thing that people take away from this film. And the trailer also describes a different version of like Rhino. This guy like injects himself with some serum and then he turns into a rhino or some shit, as opposed to being in a mech suit. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It seems like that they're obviously doing a lot of different things with this whole Sonyverse stuff. Whether or not a Spider-Man will be included in this, who the fuck knows? But yeah, it seems like that they're obviously doing some very interesting and creative things with this, which can be good or bad, for better or for worse. We're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably leading up to like a Sinister Six movie or something like that, but it's gonna be like the Suicide Squad, where it's like, it's not gonna be like Spider-Man fighting them. It's probably just gonna be like, oh, they gotta unite against some other evil guy or something. I don't know. They're probably not gonna bring Spider-Man into this, but I guess we'll just see how it develops.
All right, so the last bit of news we got here is the animated Avatar: The Last Airbender movie will follow Aang, Katara, Sokka, Zuko, and Toph in their adult ages, from ages the late 20s to early 30s. So that has been officially confirmed. So yeah, that is pretty cool. I think that when they were, proposing this whole like Avatar, animated film thing, I think that they were going to start off with like one of the other Avatars and not with this like main crew that obviously everyone has now followed, from whether they were kids or they've rewatched it or got into it during the pandemic or even recently. I think that this is like a very good idea to like really gauge how people really want to see Avatar in the future, because this is a franchise that is kind of weird when it comes to Nickelodeon and Viacom. Like when it initially came out, I think a lot of people obviously didn't know how good it was, and then years later and even today, people are like, yo, this show's like fucking amazing and fantastic. And you can even see that with like how the Legend of Korra was treated. The first season was supposed to be its own self-contained season, which is why you can see like the way that it was structured and everything like that is kind of weird. And then like they was like, oh, okay, we got a second season. Oh, we got a third. Oh, we got a fourth. Okay, like this, like the final season though. So it's like, maybe if they had it all planned out and they were able to actually like stretch it across 4 seasons, like a cohesive story, Korra could have been better. I'm not saying it's like outright dog shit. I think that it is not as good as Avatar, but I'm glad that they are sticking with this as their first movie.
Yeah, I think it's like probably the safest play they could have done. I would still like to see another Avatar series with like new characters and maybe follow like a firebender or something. That would be kind of cool. But I think Korra could have been a lot better. I mean, I also don't hate Korra. Like I like Korra. I just feel like it could have been a lot better if they like knew how many seasons they had in advance, so they could like sort of have a continuous plot, since every season is basically its own thing. Obviously, like characters developed, I guess, but it was mostly like you can have like like an overarching villain or narratives or whatever, because like that'll wrap everything up when the season was over. So hopefully, now that they have their own studio, they could like sort of tell a better, more cohesive story for whatever new Avatar show they want to do. And for these movies, it'll be cool to just see Aang and everyone like grown up and like doing stuff, like that. That's always kind of cool. So if they want to like release more of like the Avatar movies that's just with Aang and the company, that would be cool. But I would like to see some other stuff as well, since they can't really advance the story much, because like you kind of know it leads into Korra. So I guess it will give more context to Korra and stuff. So that's kind of cool. But overall, I am looking forward to it, since Avatar is really amazing, and now that they have all the budget and money and like oh, people actually like this. So like I don't know why it took them so long, but yes, they now we're getting like a nicely just animated movie with them grown up. Like I don't know, it's just something that like makes a lot of sense, and I'm happy to doing it. So,
yeah, there's definitely gonna be a lot of adults in that theater. So
yes, there is. Like get the hell out of here, kids. Like, this is not for you. This is for me.
This is for me. Get out. All right, so now we're gonna get into the last couple of bits of the show. First, we're gonna talk about Star Wars Visions 2, then Guardians Volume 3. We're gonna do spoilers for both discussions. So first, let's get into Star Wars Visions 2. We're not gonna go through every single episode, but first up, overall, I think that this season of Visions, in my opinion, was actually a little bit better than the first season.
I agree. Yeah,
I think that a lot of the, obviously, like animation styles, they were able to explore, certain like stop motion elements, certain like 3D elements as well. Obviously, they had like the traditional like anime-esque ones as well. But I think that the variety in here was a lot, and I think it actually worked out for the better. And I think that the stories themselves were actually a lot more engaging and a lot more interesting. I think that within season 1, I mean, I remember this episode. It's fucking episode 2 with the whole, musical band or whatever with those kids. Obviously, like the stakes aren't high or whatever because they're not supposed to be. But at the same time, I was like, that episode was kind of wasteful in my opinion. But that's the story that they wanted to tell. And even then, like a bunch of the other like later half episodes within season 1, I don't remember fondly of or remember too much of. Obviously, I literally just watched Visions 2 before we started recording. But yeah, I think that this season really did accomplish a lot of cool stories that they could have explored and a lot of cool twists that they should have had in there.
Yeah, I agree like 100% with you. Like I think overall I like this season like more than season 1. Like I think season 1 had, I guess, like cooler moments because it's more anime, obviously. So like the fight scenes are really cool and stuff. But like you said, I think the stories are a lot more engaging in this one and just a lot more heartfelt too and better pace. Like I just feel like a lot of these, like, okay, so season 1 feel like a lot of just OVAs because, like we got one episode to do this. So we got to cram in a lot of things in this one episode. And I feel like the only episode I felt this way about was the anime episode with Journey to Darkhead. Because I'm like, this was really cool, but like there was a lot to fit in like one episode. I feel like all the other ones had one thing to want to tell and they told it really well. And I feel like the overarching theme of like the Empire are like space Nazis because you kind of forget that's the case. Like they do a great job with that in this one. Like there's a lot of like slavery and like pulling families apart and shit. I'm like, this is great. Like obviously it's bad, but like I think all of them really had a great focus on like how bad the Empire really is. And I think that's really good. I think it's something the first season didn't really have because it was more focused on just Jedi and Sith looking cool. This one dealt with a lot more of the emotional elements and stuff. And I think that was great. Like my personal favorite was episode 2, Screecher's Reach. That was fucking awesome. That was great.
Yes.
Like that, unironically really good. Like I was like surprised when that ending happened. I'm like, Jesus Christ. A lot of these kind of end very like, they're like a lot of downers in this one, but I think it really fits for like just like how bad the Empire is. Like I guess I'll just do my top 3, I guess. Obviously number 1 is Screecher's Reach. I really like The Spy Dancer. That one was really good. And I guess for the third one, is that kind of hard because I do like a lot of them. It's probably it's probably The Pit. I really like that one a lot too. That one also was kind of a downer too. So overall I just think the themes and stuff were like a lot stronger in this one. And again, like you said, the animation style is all like so unique and so like nice to look at. So I'm just very impressed with this season.
Yeah, I think that because me and my girlfriend Emma, we watched the first episode Sith in my car. I started with episode 2 and we started it a little bit. So then when I started watching it today, I was like, okay, like everything's all fine and dandy or whatever. Yeah. And then, they meet the Screecher, or she does. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then it cuts. And I was like, wait, did she just kill her? I was like, wait, what the fuck just happened? And then like I started putting it together. I was like, oh fuck, this kid's evil. And then the whole like evil person comes down Sith, and it's like, I could give you a better life and shit like that. I was like, yo, this is fucked up. Like, what is happening here?
I loved it.
This season is definitely a lot better within just telling not just like darker stories, but just like more contained stories, because I feel like that a lot of these could be pitched as like full-fledged seasons. Like you said, within season 1, a lot of them felt like OVAs, and Journey to the Darkhead, I honestly really did like that one because it did feel like, like a OVA anime. And at the same time, I think that the animation style and everything that the story had to tell within its like 20-minute, time frame was pretty good. But honestly, I really did like a lot of the more cuter episodes. Obviously like Screecher's Reach is definitely within top 5. But I liked I Am Your Mother. I think that one. The
Wallace and Gromit one.
Yeah, that one was pretty cute. I think that the Bandit of Golek, I think that one was also like pretty good as well, because when you have like dumbass kids doing dumbass things, I'm just like, all right, yeah, like they're kids, so like I can like excuse them for doing that. And then like the whole theme comes around where it's like, she's the chosen one or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like she has to sort of like go into training and shit like that, and he has to leave her. So it was definitely like a nice, I guess, like brother and sister bonding. Even like the last episode with a new song. I'm a fucking obviously, like, I love stop motion. I used to do that shit when I was a kid. So seeing something akin to that within that episode was pretty cool, especially with the story that I was trying to tell with, like, this little young girl who's, like, very, very curious. And, like, her dad's like, keep getting in fucking trouble, you little shit. I can't believe you. So, but yeah, the other ones you mentioned, Spider-Man, the fucking ending when I was like, wait, what the fuck? She knows it's her son. I was like, no, what the fuck's happening? And also the pit when he got tossed into the pit, I was like, that is fucked up.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I really feel like there's no misses in this one, which is really rare for an anthology thing. I remember talking about this last time where I'm like, anthologies are very hit or miss, and like sometimes you get something really good, sometimes you get something that's kind of mid. But I really feel like this season, like I feel like all of them hit. Even like you said, like the lighter hearted ones are like really good as well. Like I like the Wallace and Gromit one, like that one was cute. Mm-hmm. And I really like the last one as well, like the stop motion one. Like I think had a really like a good amount of heart and stuff while still being like pretty lighthearted. Yeah. So yeah, honestly, I really feel like there was no misses this time. Like I really enjoyed all of them. Mm-hmm. And it feels like such a not corporate thing to do, like this whole Star Wars Vision thing. Like Disney just being like, let's just give money to these like animation studios to do whatever they want with this IP and just do something cool. Like it's very much like something that like doesn't feel like would happen nowadays, but I'm glad it did because these were all bangers. I really enjoyed all of this. So yeah, and I feel like that maybe you can say the same thing for some of the episodes within season 1 as well, but like a lot of these I feel like that they can be pitched as like a full-fledged like spin-off series if they really wanted to explore those stories and things like that with these characters, because I think that all of them, were pretty good. Even the ones that didn't necessarily hit as hard, I think that all of them told a really nice, cohesive story within the time frame that they were given. And obviously, you can tell just by like the animation and like the production value that they spent a lot of time making sure that every single episode turned out as well as they did. Yeah, it really makes me like, man, I wish people respected animation more because I'm like, this shit's like genuinely really good. So yeah, great job on that. I wish like What If was this good. So,
God, don't talk about that. God damn it. But yeah, so now let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Once again, spoilers. We're going to talk about pretty much everything within this movie and I guess like the implications for James Gunn and everything like that. So, yeah, I mean, I'll start off by just saying I fucking cried watching this shit, man.
Yeah, I did too.
Like, oh my God. Too. Like I was... Like obviously the marketing was like, all right, Rocket's gonna die, and I was like, no way he's gonna die. And like if he dies, I already know it's coming. And then like obviously like the whole movie for like most of it, he's like injured or whatever, and like we see his terrible fucking backstory. And then the moment when like he comes back to life and Peter and all of them are just sitting there, bro, man, I'm fucking tearing up just thinking about it, man. Oh my God, I was straight up crying, and my girlfriend was like, oh, my little baby. I was like, stop, it's a fucking raccoon, I know, but
yeah, I never thought I would cry for like CG animals, but I did. Like even like the last scene when they're all dancing, I was like happy crying. I'm like, it's so good.
Yes.
So yeah, like I definitely think, I don't know if it's like an exaggeration to say, it's definitely like top 5 MCU movies for me now. I mean, I've always really liked Guardians, but like this really elevated how much I like them by like a lot. Where I will say that it's probably like top 5 like easily for me, like easily like the best movie since Endgame for me as well. So like I just think it did everything it had to do as a conclusion, where like they went to almost everyone's character. Obviously Rocket got the biggest sort of spotlight with his backstory, which was really fucking sad, with all his like animals and being tortured and stuff. But I feel like it went into everyone else's backstory just enough to like, conclude all their arcs, like Drax being like a dad, Mantis finding her own thing, like, okay, I'm gonna do my own thing now, Star-Lord going with his grandfather and stuff. So yeah, I feel like it really was a great conclusion to like just all their stories and stuff. So yeah, I think the way James Gunn wrote it to just be a conclusion was really well done. So yeah, and I'm just surprised like he was able to do it, because I feel like the MCU had different plans for this movie since it was supposed to be written without him in mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of why I feel like Adam Warlock feels pretty underdeveloped in this movie, because I feel like he was supposed to be the bigger like thing in this one. But I'm happy he didn't go that route. I'm happy he went for the more heavy, just character focused thing, because I think it worked out really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, James Gunn, he obviously had a vision for this movie. Like, he knew that Rocket's backstory was going to be in it, and he knew that Gamora wasn't going to die within Avengers, but that sort of happened, and he was sort of put it in a situation where it was like, all right, shit, what am I going to do? And then, like, Thor was there, he was like, fuck. And then, Taika was like, all right, don't worry, man, I'm gonna kick him out, don't worry about it. So, like, obviously, like, a lot of things had to, like, align for him to really fix it and work it out, and honestly, like, it turned out to be amazing. Like, he created one of the best movies in general for the MCU and like comic book movies also. But on top of that, he created like one of, if not the best, like trilogy ever. Especially within the MCU, where like I feel like a lot of their trilogies, like when you look at Captain America or Iron Man, you can argue that like one of them is like kind of a stinker, with like Iron Man 2 or even like Cap 1, like Cap 1 and Iron Man 2 are good within their own respects, but at the same time, there's areas within those films that you can say, like this could have been better, like, certain things in there, whatever. But like within the Guardians trilogy, it's like, it's fucking perfect. Like, I haven't watched Guardians 1 within years. My girlfriend was watching Guardians 2 while I was doing homework one day because, she hasn't watched it, but she did watch Avengers and everything like that, and she was, for the most part, caught up to speed. But right. Just rewatching Guardians 2, like in the background, I was like, this shit is great. Like, with like Ego and everything. And within this movie with the whole fucking, what's his name? I forget.
High Evolutionary?
Yes, High Evolutionary. That motherfucker's evil.
Like, he was a great villain. Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that we just have a villain that just wants to do evil shit. Like, that was so much fun.
Yeah, it's honestly crazy how like I'm like, man, I think this villain's better than like Kang. like he's really great. Like he was just this crazy guy that was so obsessed with Rocket because he was able to just like outsmart him in this one thing, and then he's just going fucking insane. And like he had like these childlike tantrums and everything. Like, it was just very unnerving and unsettling. Like, he was a really great villain for this like sort of final movie and stuff. Oh man, like, and there was just so much like in this movie that I think they did so well. Like, obviously the humor is still really good. Like,
yes.
I think James Gunn just knows how to write like humor about being like the MCU type of humor that everyone's kind of accustomed to at this point. Like, I feel like no jokes are really cringy or anything. Like, I think they all feel very in character for these people to say. They don't really like overdo jokes or anything either. Like, they know when to get serious and stuff. There's like a lot of tonal whiplash, which is like, I guess kind of just how the series is. Like, you're like in Rocket's really sad backstory, and I'm like gonna fucking cry, and then like we have a really funny Drax moment. I'm like, and then I'm like still like crying. So yeah, it's that sort of mood whiplash could be a little like, I guess a little bit of a down point, but it didn't really bother me too much. But it is something I noticed.
Yeah, I mean, great use of fuck. I mean, honestly,
yeah, honestly, like using them in a joke is so good. Like,
yeah.
I feel like it's also the most realistic moment to use. Like, open the fucking door. like it's just something anyone would say, and I really appreciate that was the first like actual F-bomb the MCU did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, James Gunn's a mastermind, which is why we are both very, very excited to see what he does with the DCU, and I'm probably gonna go back and watch Peacemaker or. I think that's what it's called.
I need to watch Peacemaker,
Yeah, because, like, that's a show that he did, and, like, not a lot of people really acknowledge it, but I feel like a lot of people are going to go back and watch it now that, he's officially, working on DC stuff from now on. So, but, yeah, I mean, I think that, with what he was given, he did a great job. I mean, the whole thing with Gamora, I think that was, like, the biggest thing that he probably had to go over, and I think that how they handled it here was really, really good. Obviously, like, Peter being a fucking simp the whole time. He's like, but he looks like her, or she looks like her, whatever, and he was kind of like fucking him up, and I'm like, yeah, that'll happen. So, I just really like the way that they handled that situation and that whole like relationship, while also having her, being stuck with them to like fulfill their mission of saving Rocket.
Yeah, I really like they didn't get like together again at the end, because this kind of shows that she's not really the same Gamora anymore, so it makes sense that they wouldn't put them together. I was kind of afraid of that. I'm like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I just feel like there was no consequence for like what happened during like Infinity War and stuff. So I'm happy like James Gunn just decided to like leave it as is and be like, I mean, I think it's important for Star-Lord for him to like grow as a character as well. So and I feel like that's kind of hard to do. I mean, there is one thing I hate about the MCU now that I kind of agreeing with some people is that I feel like a lot of characters can't just like can't just end or rest anymore.
Yes.
Like, they say Star-Lord will return, but I'm like, should he though? I'm like, should he return? Should any of these characters return? Like, I'm kind of happy with the way James Gunn writ them all. Like, they had the happy endings, they're growing as characters, and then I'm okay with just them just ending here. I love the Guardians and I like to see them in more stuff, but I think this ending was just so well done that I'm like, I kind of don't want them to come back if he's not going to be involved in it, so it's just kind of a thing that's been in my mind where I'm like, I could kind of see that argument now with the MCU is like nothing can really end. Like you can't really have an ending unless they die, because then you can't bring them back. But I hate when movies are like that, when it's like, oh, you have to kill them. Like that's why I was happy this movie subverted my expectations of anyone dying, because I'm like, you don't have to make a character die to make anything impactful, to have like a strong ending or anything, Like I think them splitting apart, doing their own thing, I think that was just as strong as anyone dying,
Yeah, I think that, James Gunn did a fantastic job just making sure everyone got their proper ending. And, that scene of them just being like, so what? The gang's over? I was like, shit, here we are. But you know what? This is what James Gunn wanted. This was his vision. And Kevin Feige, he let him cook. And it was really, really good. And I cannot wait to see, what he does with the DC stuff. I think that, them saying that, Star-Lord will return, I think that is alluding to Avengers, hopefully, and that'll be it. I think that would warrant him to come back along with the other Guardians. I think that is like a proper time to do it, but I don't think that any of these characters should really necessarily return, even within like a spin-off series or, future Guardian stuff, especially without James Gunn at the helm, because I feel like he really knows these characters and these are his characters, and, whoever does, or if they ever even decide to bring him back, it's nothing going to be a tall task, and there's going to be a super high expectation, which I don't think they can meet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like the writing is definitely going to suffer a lot without him, like, sort of, like, writing these characters, since he, like, really understands, like, all of them. So seeing them, like, just be, I guess, just there, I'm like, what? Why even have them here at this point?
Yeah.
But whatever happens, I'm happy that they had this proper conclusion. So anyone, I've seen a lot of takes online being like, okay, I'm done with the MCU now. Like, I don't need to see anymore. Like, I'm good. Like, the Guardians was sort of the last thing people really want to see end. And I'm happy that it ended in such a high note. Like, it's rare for me to want to watch a movie again, since I'm very much like, okay, I've seen it and that was good. But this movie, I'm like, I want to see it again. Like, I actually do really want to see it again because of like just how much I love these characters. I'm like, like, don't leave me. Not yet. But still, like, I want them to. Like, it's good to move on and stuff. So yeah, and like you said, it's very rare for the MCU to have like a really good proper trilogy. Like I think Spider-Man is a good example of one that's really good. And I think Captain America for the most part has had like a lot of good movies as well. But I think Guardians definitely had the biggest like growth of characters, just like because I feel like it's hard to like do one character like growth and character arc well. Like this dude did like 5 or 6. So,
yes.
It's kind of crazy to balance all of that and just have it be so good. So. And basically, I think it was just a really great conclusion to the whole series, to Guardians, and so it's just like an epilogue to like just like the last bits of Endgame and stuff. So, if you haven't watched it, definitely watch it. It's so good.
Yeah, I think that everything that this trilogy has really become is James Gunn's obviously like his kickstart to his really like big career and everything like that, along with all of these other people's careers, which is why when it was announced that he was fired from Guardians 3, pretty much everyone, all of those actors were like, we're not doing this film without him. So which is why they had to rehire him back, and at that point he already signed on for Suicide Squad and shit like that. But yeah, I mean, Guardians 3 is definitely one of the best MCU movies by far, and I think that this film and this sort of franchise in and of itself has really reminded people that Marvel movies and MCU movies can be good. Does that mean they will all be this good? Probably not. And I think that Marvel should reevaluate how they're treating these characters and sort of have certain stories end without them dying or getting killed or whatever. I know that there's rumors about like Spider-Man 4, like they want to get Zendaya back and shit like that, and I'm like, all right, I get it. Like they're dating IRL and shit like that, but I'm like, I don't want to see Zendaya's MJ again. Not because it was bad or anything like that. It's because I think that story is over. It's concluded, and I think that can be said for the Guardians as well. And like you said, Damian, I was going to rewatch this in theaters, and I still want to rewatch it in theaters just because I think that this is a movie that is worth rewatching in theaters, even though it is like 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is like decently long for a movie. You know, even then, when I was sitting in my seat, I was thoroughly enjoying every single minute because it was just so good, because I knew that these were going to be the last times I'm going to see these characters within the eyes of James Gunn, behind him with the camera and everything like that, these versions of his characters. So yeah.
Yeah, I also think it's just nice that, you know, because I feel like a lot of recent MCU trailers have been like very serious, and then they end up just being like, you know, normal MCU movies. I'm happy this one kind of kept the tone the whole time. Like,
yeah,
obviously it was still jokey and stuff, like, because, you know, it's still Guardians, but I feel like a lot of the movie was, you know, a lot more serious than the first two, and I'm happy that tone kept throughout the whole movie. Like, because I feel like Ant-Man was the biggest, like, all right, like, you know, it's just like the trailer was just like, look how serious this is gonna be. This is gonna be like really different, and then it just felt like just like an Ant-Man movie. So it's like whatever. I'm happy this one really kept the tone the whole way. It's like even like the beginning is it's kind of like a downer, you know. So like I'm happy that tone kept throughout the movie, because it fits really well, and like the ending being like, you know, this happy like conclusion to everything, I think hits a lot harder. So yeah, definitely my favorite MCU movie in a while, and like definitely just like a top 5, maybe top 3 even. I wouldn't even reevaluate like how I feel about a lot of MCU movies right now because of this one. So no, I still think Infinity War is probably still my favorite MCU thing ever, because I mean, like, it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's Infinity War, but I feel like this is definitely might be a top 3 now. I don't know, I need to rethink, but yeah, just really, really great.
Yeah, they really took advantage of all these characters, and even with like Adam Warlock, which obviously I think a lot of people thought he was going to be like the big bad guy or whatever, but I like what they did with his character, you know, him being like a super almighty being and him being dumb as shit. Like that was great. So, you know, I'm glad that, you know, we got this movie. We got it as good as it is, and I cannot wait to see what James Gunn does next. So,
yeah, very, very excited what he does with Superman at this point. Since, like I said, you know, I really never cared about Superman, but if I could trust anyone to make any character interesting, then it's probably James Gunn at this point.
Yeah.
So,
especially since he loves Superman as well.
Yeah, apparently he loves Superman, so I'm very excited to see what he does with that character. I know I'm not expecting like Guardians or Suicide Squad like funniness from like Superman or anything, but I am expecting a pretty compelling character, since, you know, I think he's done that really well as well. So yeah, definitely looking forward to see how his DCU and Superman turn out at this point. So yeah.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to add, good sir?
No, that's everything.
All right. So thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 112. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.